Money is loud. That's the first thing I learned after the wish. It's not a sound you can hear with your ears, not like coins clinking or bills rustling. It's a hum, a low, constant vibration that lives in the walls of expensive buildings, the kind with marble floors and security guards who don't smile. It echoes through empty hallways that stretch on forever. It follows you into rooms where you're the most important person, even when no one knows your name. It's the sound of being utterly, completely alone. Weeks passed, maybe months. Time started to feel slippery. It stopped being real when I realized no one could remember I existed. It's a strange feeling, being a ghost in your own life. I tried to talk to people, not to explain the impossible, but just to feel human for a moment. I'd order a coffee, and the barista would smile politely, her eyes looking right through me. The second I walked away, her expression would reset, as if I'd never been there at all. Security guards, paid with my money, would escort me out of buildings I owned, their faces a mixture of confusion and annoyance. Taxi drivers started asking for payment up front, their eyes suspicious, like I was a stranger borrowing someone else's world for a joyride. The worst part was my reflection. It started to change. Not physically, I still had the same face, the same hair. But my eyes looked hollow. They belonged to someone who was already gone, a photograph of a person who used to be. That's when I first noticed the numbers. It was subtle at first. I check my banking app, a pointless habit now, and see a few extra zeros. Then a sudden, inexplicable rise in stocks I didn't remember buying. I dismissed it as a glitch, an error in the system. But it kept happening. One night, I was walking down a crowded street, lost in the sea of faces. A woman, rushing, brushed past me. Our shoulders touched. For a split second, she looked directly at me. She really looked. I saw a flash of recognition, a flicker of connection. My heart leaped. Then she blinked, and it was gone. "I'm sorry," she mumbled, a confused frown on her face, and then she walked away, swallowed by the crowd. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. A notification from my private bank, another $1 billion added to my accounts. My blood ran cold. It couldn't be. It was too cruel, too specific. I had to test it. I ran. I found a man on a park bench and started a conversation about the weather. He was friendly. We chatted for a few minutes. I shook his hand, felt the warmth of his skin. The moment I let go, his smile faded, his eyes glazed over, and he turned away as if we'd never spoken. My phone buzzed again. Another deposit. The bigger the connection, the bigger the payout. I helped a woman carry her groceries up a flight of stairs. She thanked me, her face full of genuine gratitude. Then, as she unlocked her door, she glanced back at me, a blank look on her face. Buzz. The genie hadn't just erased me from memory. He had weaponized my loneliness. He had tied my existence to profit. I was becoming something else. Not a person. A system. A resource. A ghost that turned human connection into currency. So I stopped trying. I stopped trying to be remembered. I hid. I lived in sprawling penthouses with no names on the doorbells. I hired staff and paid them triple, with one condition: don't ask questions. Don't try to know me. It worked. The money kept them curious. Cameras and facial recognition software knew who I was. They logged my presence. But people never did. My world became a sterile, empty bubble of wealth. And then came the dreams. Every night, it was the same. I stood in a massive vault, a cavern of gold and gleaming glass screens. Numbers scrolled endlessly across the walls, a cascade of my ever-growing fortune. And at the center of it all sat the genie. He looked older, somehow thinner. His form was less solid, more like smoke clinging to the shape of a man. In the dream, I could speak, and he could hear me. "You're fading," I told him. A strange sense of dread creeping over me. He nodded slowly, his eyes ancient and weary. "You are replacing me." That's when I finally understood the terrible, horrifying truth of it. The genie wasn't immortal. His power wasn't infinite. It was transferred. Wishes for wealth didn't create it out of thin air. They moved it. They repurposed it. From one forgotten soul to the next. The price of the fortune was the person who held it. I woke up screaming, the silence of my massive bedroom screaming back at me. That night, my hands trembling, I rubbed the lamp. I didn't even think about it. It was pure instinct, a desperate act. The genie appeared, but he was weaker than ever before, the smoke barely holding his form together. He looked translucent, like a memory himself. "You're dying," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Fulfilling," he corrected me gently, "fulfilling the terms of the wish. You're turning me into." "You," I accused. backing away from the shimmering form. Yes. The single word hung in the air, heavy with finality. I shook my head, horrified. I won't do it. I won't become you. The genie smiled, a sad, knowing expression. You already are. And then he snapped his fingers. The world around me slowed to a crawl. The hum of money in the walls went silent. And for the first time since the wish, someone remembered me, a child. A little boy was standing in the corner of the room. I have no idea how he got there. He wasn't afraid. He just looked at me, his eyes wide and curious. He looked at me like I mattered. You look lonely, he said, his voice clear as a bell. I felt something tear inside my chest, a physical pain, a cracking of the ice that had formed around my heart. What's your name? I asked, my voice raw. He told me. I repeated it, over and over, afraid the name itself would disappear, afraid he would disappear. The genie spoke quietly from behind me, his voice a faint echo. One remembered connection, he said, is worth everything you own. And the choice was laid bare before me. It was so simple, so monstrously clear. If I held onto the boy, if I let him remember me, I would lose it all. Every dollar, every stock, every building. I would be a nobody again, but I would be seen. If I let him forget me. If I let this one pure connection slip away like all the others, my phone would buzz. The final transaction would complete. And I would become the next genie, immortal. Infinitely powerful, and completely, utterly alone for eternity. The child, sensing my turmoil, reached out and took my hand. His small fingers wrapped around mine. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I hesitated.